Hey guys, Exotic Car DIY here. What we have today is a F1 system from a Ferrari 355, at least the hydraulic components of it. Over here is the actuator. It bolts onto the motor, and right here is where it bolts onto the transmission selector shaft. We have the pipes that come over to the power unit. The power unit has a pump back here. It also has selector solenoids, the pressure switch, and the accumulator bulb. And over here we have just the reservoir. This is the wood block. This is actually not a factory part. It's a joke. This is the most crude setup just for testing, but I believe it is the only setup right now on YouTube. So there's 71 pages in the workshop manual of how this all works. This is the main page that explains how the hydraulic fluid routing goes. Basically, over here you can see you have the dots that tell you which actuator gets actuated to select each different gears. Basically, the simplest way to describe this, since the F1 or the Ferrari 355 is essentially a manual transmission car that Ferrari converted to an F1 system, just imagine the shifter. So to get into neutral, it will be in the middle. To go to first and second, you got to go left. So to go left would be EV3s. To go right would be EV4. To select the middle, it does both EV4 and EV3. And then 1 and 2 are the engagement solenoids, as it says here. So when you want to go into first, it's going to do our first, third, and fifth, the odd numbers. It's going to do EV1, which will essentially, that's when you push the shifter forward. Well, it's going to go back because it's opposite on when it actually goes to the transmission. And then to go in the bottom gears is second, third, and fourth. So what I found is also EV5. It took me a while to figure out what EV5 is actually doing. EV5 is limiting the travel to keep you out of reverse, because as you can see, for reverse, EV5 is not used. So I was messing around with it at first and I couldn't figure out what EV5 was. Basically, EV5 is selected, and that keeps the shaft from not rotating all the way over to the reverse gear. So what I'm going to do is kind of set it up, and we're going to engage different things and watch the actuator move over here. All right, so currently it's in neutral, or pretty close to neutral. It's hard to actually do it using the wires because you have to hold down 3 and 4, then let them go exactly at the same time. If you let go of one just a millisecond less, it'll actually move just a little bit. Obviously, the computer can do this perfectly, and I can't. So if we wanted to select, for example, first gear, that's according to this chart on, and if you want to look at it, it's D19 is the page I'm using in the workshop. So we're going to engage 5, and then we're also going to engage 3, and that'll turn it a little bit right. Now, if we want to move the shifter over to the other side to engage gears 5 and 6, we're going to engage 4 instead. So there is 3, and there's 4. Okay, and now we're going to engage both 4 and 5, and that should center it back in neutral. Okay, and like I was saying, 5 is not used for reverse. So reverse is just EV3. See how it goes a little bit further over? So here's EV5 with 3, and this is EV3 by itself. So that's why it goes a little bit further. So EV5 prevents it from going that extra turn, which will get you into reverse. So if we wanted to do first gear, obviously, so now we're back in neutral, close to neutral. We'd engage EV5 and 3, okay? And then EV1 would jam it into the gear, okay? Now if we want to slam second, you hit EV2. So there's first gear and second gear. And now I got to prime the pump again real quick. Okay, so we've already done first and second as an example. So now let's say we want to do third and fourth. So those are going to be the middle gears. So it wants us to engage both EV5, 4, and 3. And that'll put the shifter in the center position. So I'll try to get, there's the center position. Okay, and I let go too soon. Anyway, and then there is third gear and fourth gear. And then we're going to go back to the neutral position. All right, and then to engage gear 5 and 6, the shifter needs to rotate. It would be to the left on this one, but that would be EV4s, which it still says I need to use 5 and 4, so that's the rotate. So now we're cocked over to do gears 5 and 6. So again, one will engage it, that's 5th, there's 6th, and then to go back to neutral, you can engage both 1 and 2, and it comes back out to the center. So you were staring at the actuator while I was doing that. I have it set up so all I was doing was essentially to get into a gear first. For example, like first gear, I engaged 5 with the positive wire and 3 at the same time. And then you come over here and you engage EV1. And then to go to second gear, it's EV2. And then neutral, the center selector is to select both. And to get to the center of the other EVs, you select all 3 of these. Like I said, 5th is always used in all gears except reverse. When you let it off reverse, it allows that the actuator to turn that extra little bit to the right, which will let you select reverse. So I hope that kind of made it clear. Please forgive me for this extremely crude setup, but it wasn't documented anywhere before.